My daughter forgot to hang up the phone. She didn't know I was still listening when she said, "He's a burden. The house is worth nearly $1 million. We'll sell it, find him a place, then finally buy that home in Boulder." She didn't stutter. She didn't whisper. She planned my exile like a business meeting. That's how I found out they were putting me in a nursing home. The daughter I built a house for with my own hands. The man she married whom I let live under my roof rent-free for over a year. I didn't shout. I didn't beg. I sold the house for $890,000 cash. They came back from their trip smiling, but their keys no longer fit, and the letter I left on the door. That was just the beginning. Before we continue, make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments where you are watching from. You can't imagine how pale their faces turned when they realized what I had already done. The day it all began, I was sitting in Ellen's old recliner with a reheated meatloaf on my lap and the TV remote in hand, though I hadn't turned on the television in hours. The house was too quiet. Even with the spring breeze rattling the kitchen window, the caller ID had lit up Caitlin. I'd smiled foolishly. "Hi, Dad," she said. "Just checking in. You doing okay?" Her voice carried that soft, sugary tone that always disarmed me. "I'm eating fine," I said. "Just having dinner. Ellen's old recipe." "Oh, that's good," she replied. "And the stove. You remembered to turn it off this time." She was pretending to care, pretending to check in. I didn't know it yet, but she was laying the foundation not of support, but of justification. The kind people use when they want to take something from you while convincing themselves they're doing it out of love. I reassured her like always. I caught it just in time. "Don't worry." She laughed, but it wasn't the same laugh from her childhood. Not the one that used to echo off the garage walls when I built her dollhouse. No, this one was tighter, thinner, forced. After a few more pleasantries, she said she had to go. Dinner plans with some potential investors. Of course, then she didn't hang up, or maybe she thought she did. The rustle of her purse was unmistakable. Then her voice sharp and clear. "Jeremy, he forgot to turn off the burner again. He's slipping." I froze. Jeremy's reply was casual, mechanical. "It's time, Caitlin. He's a good man, but he's becoming a liability." Liability. That word stuck, like a nail driven into wood just a fraction off center. "It splinters something," Caitlin replied. "We could get at least $900K for the house. With Denver's market, maybe more. We'll find him a nice place. Not too expensive, just enough." And then she laughed. That laugh, the same mouth that used to say, "You're the best dad in the world now," curled into a smile while plotting my removal. My fingers went numb. The phone slid from my hand and clattered to the hardwood floor Ellen and I had laid together 23 years ago. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I sat still like a man who'd just discovered he was already a ghost in his own home. The silence after betrayal is different. It has texture, weight. I remember thinking the walls felt closer that night, like the house itself was holding its breath. I stared at Ellen's photo on the mantel, her favorite one, the candid from our 25th anniversary at Garden of the Gods. She was laughing in that photo. God, she had the kind of laugh that made people in other rooms smile. Don't give her so much. She forgets to be grateful. She once told me I had given everything and Caitlin had forgotten. It was nearly midnight when I opened the drawer in the kitchen, the one with receipts and old warranties, coupons long expired. At the very back was a faded envelope with our original mortgage documents. It still smelled like the lemon cleaner Ellen used every Saturday. I took out the deed. Roy and Ellen Hayes, no liens, no co-signers, no shared ownership with anyone. It was mine. I went to my home office and opened the drawer where I kept the business card. Ellen insisted we keep just in case. Todd Fisher, real estate attorney. I called him the next morning. "Mr. Hayes," he said, "I remember you and your wife from years back. I'm sorry for your loss. She would have wanted me to protect what we built," I said. And that was the truth. Walking through the house that morning felt like walking through a museum, not just of our memories but of my labor. Every room told a story I had written with my hands. The crown molding in the dining room, I carved it myself over 3 weekends because Ellen saw it in a magazine and said, "Wouldn't it be lovely?" The bay window in the living room. That was her reading nook. I bled through my gloves building the granite countertop in the kitchen. Ellen picked the slab, because she said the gold veins looked like sunlight caught in marble. I couldn't afford contractors, so I installed it alone. Lifted each section like it might break me. It almost did. And now Caitlin, who took her first steps in that kitchen, wanted to sell it. Worse, she wanted to sell me. Brian Connor arrived on Wednesday afternoon. He looked at the place like a man who knew exactly what it was worth, not just on paper but in craftsmanship. "This is incredible," he said. I said nothing, just nodded. He took photos, asked questions. I answered like an old carpenter explaining his tools. When he asked about the timeline, I told him I want it done before they come home. "Cash buyer?" he asked. "Preferably." By Thursday he had 3 offers. I chose the one that came with no contingencies, full price and a fast close. $890,000 cash. It was more than they dreamed of, and they'd seen none of it. I moved out silently, packed Ellen's jewelry box, our wedding album, her favorite mug, the one that said "Still in love since '81. The rest, let them think I left in a hurry. Let them assume I was confused. I rented a 1-bedroom unit in a quiet senior community across town month to month, furnished simple, not home, but peaceful. Before I left the house, I changed the locks, paid cash, no receipts. I also installed a small camera disguised as a charger. It pointed at the front door, ready to catch every twitch of confusion and horror when they tried to come in. Then I wrote the letter, 1 page, no anger, just truth. "Dear Caitlin and Jeremy, I heard your plans. The ones where you called me a burden. The ones where you sold my life before I was dead. The house has been sold for $890,000. The proceeds are mine. Your things are at Denver storage on KFAX. You have 30 days. You wanted me out of the way. I made it easy. Love, Dad." I taped the envelope to the door. Then I walked away, not because I was running, but because I'd finally stopped waiting for people who had already left me behind. The first night in the new apartment felt like sleeping in a stranger's coat. It fit technically, but nothing about it smelled like home. No creak on the floorboard outside the bedroom. No sound of the wind catching the gutter. Ellen had always said we'd get fixed next spring. No quiet hum of the grandfather clock ticking in the hallway, but the silence didn't feel lonely. It felt earned. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, Ellen's picture resting on the nightstand beside me. She was smiling. She always was in photos, and yet in this one it felt different now, as if she'd seen this moment coming long before I did, as if she'd trusted I'd eventually find the courage to do what needed to be done. "I did it, sweetheart," I whispered into the darkness. "You'd be proud." The apartment smelled faintly of new paint and industrial carpet cleaner, the kind of place where nothing had roots, and maybe that was a good thing. I didn't want roots anymore. Not here, not yet. The next morning, I walked 2 blocks down to the little strip of shops behind the community garden, and found a local cafe called Brews and Views. A barista with purple hair and an eyebrow ring greeted me with a smile that wasn't forced. "You look new," she said. "Just moved in." "Let me guess, Cherry Creek refugee." I raised an eyebrow. "Everyone is leaving those neighborhoods these days. Can't afford the taxes or the drama." She winked. I smiled, surprised by how easily it came. "Something like that," I said. "You got anything strong enough to wake the dead?" She grinned. "You're in luck. Our Ethiopian roast can raise Lazarus." I sat near the window with my coffee watching the street, watching people with lives that didn't require cameras or secret letters or lock changes. Watching an elderly couple bicker over muffins and laugh about it 2 seconds later. Watching a golden retriever trying and failing to catch a squirrel. It was quiet, normal, and I realized I hadn't felt normal in years. Not since Ellen's diagnosis. Not since Caitlin started visiting only when she needed something. Not since Jeremy moved in and started talking to me like I was the hired help. By noon I was back in the apartment pacing. I opened the storage box, where I'd placed our old documents, and pulled out the little black notebook I used to carry on job sites. Inside, my handwriting, square type, exact, held sketches of every beam I'd ever installed, Every cost estimate I'd calculated by hand. I wasn't a rich man, but I'd built something that mattered, and I'd be damned if I let anyone take that away just because they thought I was too tired to fight back. I picked up my phone and opened the camera app connected to the charger camera I'd left behind. The front hallway of my old house appeared instantly still quiet, bathed in the soft light of the late afternoon sun. The envelope was still taped to the door. I watched for a long time, phone in hand, heart steady. Tomorrow they'd be home tomorrow. That evening, I went online and ordered a second camera. This one is hidden in a small clock. I wanted another angle just in case. Call it overkill, call it paranoia, but I wasn't taking chances. I also called a storage facility and prepaid for 3 months for their unit under my daughter's name. I'd moved her boxes there myself the day before, labeled and stacked neatly everything from her wedding dress to Jeremy's executive desk that I bought when he was between jobs. Let them try to claim they didn't know where their things went. I left the address and unit number in the letter. I wanted everything clean, precise, documented, just like the buildings I used to raise from blueprints. Friday morning, I woke up at 6 a.m. I didn't need an alarm. Anticipation had its volume. I made coffee, ironed my best shirt, and sat in the same chair as the day before, watching the camera feed on my phone. The entryway hadn't changed, but the air around it felt charged, like the seconds before a storm. By 10 a.m., I'd reviewed the contract from the house sale 3 times. Brian Connor had already wired the funds. They were sitting in my new account, untouchable, by anyone but me. It wasn't just money. It was proof that I still had power, that I wasn't finished, that I hadn't handed over my dignity just because I now qualified for a senior discount at the pharmacy. 4:12 p.m. a black SUV pulled into the driveway. Caitlin's car. She stepped out first, sunglasses on, Starbucks cup in hand, tapping through her phone. Jeremy followed, looking at his watch like always. They rolled their suitcases up the walk like they owned the place because they thought they did. I leaned in. Caitlin reached into her purse, pulled out her key ring and smiled, just before sliding her key into the lock. And then the pause. The key didn't turn. She frowned, jiggled, tried again, her head tilted. That slight movement of confusion turns to unease. Jeremy moved up beside her. What's wrong? My key is not working. Try again. I have. Let me try. He took the key and tried it himself, as if his man hands might overpower the reality. No luck. Then came the second act. He walked to the back door, tried it, no response. Garage remote dead.